Why statism attracts the worst people every time. Statism doesn't just corrupt people. It selects for a certain kind of person and then reshapes everyone who stays inside of it. Statism concentrates coercive power, and any system built on coercion attracts people comfortable using it. That's not ideology. That's not speculation. That's a pattern repeated across centuries, cultures, and governments. Different flags, different slogans, same outcomes. So let's define the system clearly. Statism is the belief that society should be organized through centralized authority backed by force. That means rules imposed without consent, obedience enforced through punishment, and compliance treated as legitimacy. Under statism, power does not come from persuasion, it comes from enforcement. And once enforcement becomes the organizing principle, personality stops being the main variable. Compatibility with coercion becomes the filter. So part 1, who is drawn to statist power? Most people do not want authority over strangers. They want autonomy, stability, and responsibility over their own lives. But statism requires something different. It requires people willing to command others without permission, to enforce rules on people they will never meet, and to cause harm indirectly and call it governance. Historically, this pattern is obvious. In the Roman Empire, political advancement favored those willing to enforce imperial decrees across vast territories, regardless of local impact. In imperial China, bureaucratic systems elevated officials who demonstrated strict adherence to centralized authority, not local judgment. Those most comfortable enforcing power from a distance rose fastest. This is the first selection effect. So, part 2, the first filter is selection. Statist systems operate like funnels. Many enter with mixed motives, few rise, and even fewer remain. Advancement requires obedience upward, enforcement downward, and silence when rules conflict with conscience. In the Soviet Union, party loyalty mattered more than competence. Officials who questioned directives were labeled unreliable. Those who enforced them efficiently advanced. In Maoist China, officials who met quotas through harsh enforcement were rewarded, but those who hesitated were removed. This wasn't because leaders were uniquely cruel. It was because the system rewarded those traits. The state doesn't promote the wisest. It promotes the most compatible. So part 3, why good people exit. Highly conscientious people often leave statist systems voluntarily, not because they're weak, but because they experience constant moral friction. They struggle with enforcing rules they didn't design, punishing behavior they personally understand, and even benefiting from privileges denied to others. And you see this repeatedly. Whistleblowers, resignations, quiet departures. They rarely rise to the top. They leave before they are reshaped. And the system does not collapse when they go. It becomes more uniform. Part 4. Statism does not need bad people. This is where defenders of statism make the biggest mistake. They believe abuse requires evil individuals. It doesn't. Statism only requires obedient ones. Consider East Germany. Border guards did not wake up wanting to imprison their neighbors. They just followed procedures. They enforced orders, and they just obeyed authority. The harm wasn't personal. It was institutional. Inside statist power, incentives reward loyalty over honesty, procedure over judgment, and compliance over conscience. You are not asked to believe in the harm. You are only asked to carry it out. So part 5, the transformation effect. As people remain inside statist power, something changes. Distance from consequences grows. Human effects become abstract. Rules replace judgment. This is visible in modern bureaucracies everywhere. Decisions affecting millions are made by people who will never experience the consequences. Responsibility is diffused. Quote, I was following policy, unquote. Another one, quote, that decision came from above, unquote. And another one, quote, that's just how the system works, unquote. Over time, individuals stop seeing people. They see categories, violations, case numbers. This is how ordinary people become functionaries, not through cruelty, but through normalization. Part 6. Some modern examples. You see this today across the world. In modern surveillance states, officials justify invasive monitoring as public safety. In regulatory regimes, enforcement agents ruin livelihoods without knowing names. In wartime bureaucracies, civilian harm is reduced to statistics. No one feels personally responsible because no one is allowed to exercise personal judgment. Statism trains people to surrender conscience to procedure, and it rewards those who do that best. So, part 7, why this repeats everywhere. This is why changing leaders does not fix statism. The system itself rewards efficient enforcers, reliable rule followers, and emotional distance. Those who perform best are promoted. Those who hesitate are removed. Statism doesn't attract the worst people. It turns normal people into instruments and then elevates the most obedient ones. So this is the structural trap. People keep hoping statism can be made safe with better leaders, with better rules, and with better intentions. But centralized coercion always produces the same filters. Statism selects for comfort with force. It filters out conscience, and it reshapes whoever remains. This is not a failure of morality. It is a failure of design. Statism doesn't need monsters. Although statism does attract monsters, statism also can create monsters itself.